Just want to give a very quick warning that there are spoilers for the story of Deltarune chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Anyways, please subscribe so I can reach 1,000 before 2026 and enjoy the video. Sorry for the lack of uploads as of late. I've been busy. But I'm back now, and in that time, Deltarune's chapters 3 and 4 have been released, and the story that these new chapters are telling has genuinely moved me more than any other series I've watched or played within the past decade. Not only does Toby keep his story engaging with deep characters, entertaining locations, and creepy secrets, but he also sets up his story in a way that I haven't seen many other pieces of media attempt. Toby sets up his story so that it leaves the player always guessing what comes next, ending chapter 1 with Chris ripping his soul out, chapter 2 with Chris creating a dark fountain, chapter 3 having Chris about to enter the shelter, chapter 4 with Chris about to jump out the window. A lot of it is Chris. And while cliffhanger endings are very common to keep players and viewers coming back for whatever they have in store next, Toby keeps the players engaged in this story even after finishing each chapter by leaving these little breadcrumbs hidden throughout each chapter that can help players figure out what is coming next. Like Spamton talking about Mike and leaving us little clues on what we can expect in the Dark World during chapter 3. Even in chapter 1, the king mentions the knight, who isn't introduced until the end of chapter 3. He leaves these tiny little details that seem like they don't matter in an isolated instance, but actually hold a lot of weight in the story. He leaves just enough for us to theorize on while giving himself that room to add surprises without making them feel forced. For example, MatPat has made about 6 theories on Deltarune, and so far, not one of them has been correct. Obviously, there's still time, but Toby was still able to give us these breadcrumbs that, looking back, knowing the story now, those breadcrumbs should have made it obvious to us that this was going to happen. No other game in modern times has been able to do that effectively. Five Nights at Freddy's is a perfect example of that. Almost the entire story of Five Nights at Freddy's is told behind the scenes in secret lore minigames and little hidden pieces of text. And because of that, Five Nights at Freddy's has one of the biggest communities because there is so much to sink into, even when there is no new content. Always finding these little small pieces that might change the puzzle and how everybody sees it completely, keeping players constantly talking about it even when there's nothing new. However, this series makes one fatal mistake that a lot of other series that attempt to do this make. They refuse to confirm fucking anything. The story, they don't confirm anything in the stories the series tells. And I feel like they do this to keep that surprise factor up, like the missing children's event. We don't know the order of who died and exactly who possessed what. Like, we all thought it was this one order, and then we were told it's another order, but we don't know if they're lying or not, or if we're just seeing it in the wrong way. And even though it was one of the very first mysteries in the series, and being introduced in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, the very first game, it's still, we haven't been given a straight up answer. And the only reason I think that this hasn't been explored further or straight up told to us is because they want to keep that surprise factor to do what they want without contradicting themselves, causing frustration and anger in said community. Meanwhile, with Deltarune, Toby does something very similar, but he not only confirms things that don't need to be confirmed, but he also goes further into pre-existing plot points that needed more development for people to understand. He allows the players to get a grasp of the world and what's going on, but not so much that anyone would know what was coming next. So when Toby wants to bring out a surprise like the knight taking Undyne, or the Titan being summoned from the Dark Fountain, it never felt like it was an out-of-nowhere addition, just for the shock factor, but it felt planned, like we as the player should have known this was coming. It had good build-up, and like I said before with Five Nights at Freddy's, they don't confirm shit. They leave everything very vague, except for Secrets of the Mimic, but that's a future video. So because all the info we were given is very vague, and because Scott doesn't do coincidences, Cawthon doesn't like to give us enough to understand the full story, it leads to being tons and tons of these interpretations of the story, which cause people to get upset with one another, because sometimes someone will have a good theory, but the evidence behind it is bad, or vice versa. They'll have a bad theory, but the evidence behind it is good. While also, some people will take their events of the story as fact, and when the games, directly prove that wrong, it causes the equivalent of a nuclear bomb in the community, like Secrets of the Mimic. Spoilers if you have not seen the game yet, but near the end of the game, it changes a lot of what we knew about the story. And some people just don't accept that. They can't accept it, because people are still up in arms on whether the books are canon or not, even though they have apparently been confirmed to not be canon. Meanwhile, Deltarune, I have seen tons of theories, all of which go in their own direction, and I don't see any massive discourse on it. It's because all of these theories could 100% happen. Toby has written the story in an open direction where there are a ton of ways we can interpret what is going on with the story, and sometimes no one gets it right. But the difference between Five Nights at Freddy's and Deltarune is that, as I've stated before, Toby confirms things, setting up plot points, developing plot points, right in front of our eyes, telling an actual story, but he doesn't wait to confirm or deconfirm things, which is the main difference between the two. FNAF, in its 10 years, has barely confirmed anything. Meanwhile, Deltarune has confirmations left and right. Chapter 3 opens with a very popular theory that gets confirmed. Another popular theory that we were against Chris, not working with Chris, also got confirmed in Chapter 4 when we have the closet fight scene. And with Five Nights at Freddy's, we have the confirmed name of missing children. William Afton is Springtrap. Henry's kid possesses the puppet. The Mimic AI is Glitchtrap. And that Chica might be a chicken. But Toby, he doesn't leave his fans out to dry. He has even in the past done certain events to give more info on the story to come in Deltarune to hold fans over while he works on the game, like the Spamton Sweepstakes. And there it talks more about the events of Chapter 3 and brings up characters that we don't know what their importance quite is yet, like Friend. And he does it in such a way that it's vague enough that he can write the story in whatever way he wants, but not too vague where fans have no clue what is going to happen.
And that's the genius behind Deltarune's storytelling. And scene. No, but on a real note, you could tell that there was some insane thought and planning behind this. Like, you can tell that this game has been bouncing around in Toby's head since 2012. So if there's anything you want to take away from this video, it's that FNAF's story sucks giant dick and Deltarune solos.